I really want to thank all my panelists. Some of them have 100 days to prepare. Some of them have 100 seconds to prepare. They are all ready. Okay, there's no advantage. Questions are very easy. All right, so here is what we're going to do. In these sessions, the seminars you come to, ladies and gentlemen. Am I hacking? An echo. Okay, am I good? Okay, my boss is saying, speed it up, speed it up. I'm going to speed it up. Okay, these seminars we do here are soft skills. And research shows 85% of your success is soft skills. And today, Jerry May is going to give us a walkthrough, a lecture, presentation, training on emotional intelligence. Well and good, but we want to make it practical. So what I'll be asking the panelists will be the soft skills they have been using to be successful in life and also in their careers. Okay, that's the question. So they all have the guidelines. So I'm looking for rapid fire. Anybody who knows what rapid fire is? Short question, short answer in 1 minute. Okay, the first question is, okay, I want you to pay attention to this. The question I'm asking of each one of them is, what is one small thing you did that made the biggest difference in the job you are in? So that's the question. What is one small action that you took that helped you secure the job you are in? And I'm just gonna randomly ask. James, you'll be the first. What's one small thing you did, sir?
One small thing I did is I learned a skill that I knew my future employer was looking for. So I learned to be an executive coach, and I knew they were looking for executive coaches.
Fantastic. That's definitely what was on the short answer. You want to give James a hand? Executive coach. By the way, you can call James on the side and ask him to coach you a little bit, maybe one-line coaching. Okay. Okay, the next person I'm going to ask is Hamraoui. How did you get into that cushy, nice Montgomery College job?
I got interviewed for it. Actually, when they hired me as a community engagement for everyone. They did not hire me just for the Ethiopian population, but I pushed. I said, we need to advocate for our own people, and eventually most of my time is with the Ethiopian community. So it's because I pushed and showed my passion that's how that I started working more with the Ethiopian community.
So Hamraoui, you ask and they say no. And you came back and asked, and they said no. And you came back and they said no, and you said ask again, right? You went 5 times, 6 times, 10 times, 15 times?
Yeah, and I showed my passion. When we are doing something that we're passionate about, we're going to be successful automatically. So instead of looking at other people, what others are doing, because my coworkers, they have other strengths that I don't have. Instead of looking at them and saying, I'm not good at like them, I'm not organized like them, I say, what am I good at? I'm good at reaching my own community, so why don't I concentrate on that?
Can someone take pictures? Can someone take pictures? Mulin, Mulgeta or someone take pictures? Jenny, take pictures. Manan, please take pictures because this is so cool here. Alrighty, okay. You know what? The last 3 days, Hannah did not even have anything. She did not even eat. She was preparing for this. It's exciting. So, Hannah, what did you do to get this cushy job with this fantastic bank?
Thank you. My name is Hannah. I'm a QA manager, and I used to have just 3 people that I was managing, and now I'm managing 9 U.S. employees, and then I have some in India as well. So what I did was, it's just a little small steps. First, I mastered what I knew. I mastered managing the 3 people I have, and then the next thing I did was I was ready for more responsibility, and I asked for it. So they were able to give me a stretch assignment. So after I did that successfully, when the opportunity came, when someone retired, I raised my hand. So I got the next position.
Fantastic. So you began the train through 20 now? They are everywhere, including India, Philippines, who knows, everywhere. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask my good friend who used to work for Microsoft, what did you do to get the last job you did? I know this.
In 1995, when I started working at Microsoft, I started as a contractor, and my job was in the hardware department to provide them with sales data. They were selling close to $300 million a year, but nobody knows any idea. Every salesman has their own data, but as a whole, there was nothing, and they could not create any forecast out of that. So a little big light went up, and they said, Masfin, find out, learn about Excel, get them worldwide sales data, which is what I did. So after collecting all the data, I have it by salesman, by region, by where it's manufactured, how it got shipped, what stores sold, what kind of mouse, what kind of keyboard, and how the whole story. So based on that, they were able, after 3 months, they were able to have a forecast, a good forecast, a reliable forecast. And then within less than a year, I became a full-time
employee.
Yes.
Fantastic. Absolutely. If you are a contractor, you want a regular job, I think Masfin has the blueprint. And I know this man, and he works very, very hard. And guess what? You are here because Masfin is here. You know why? He moved all the way from the Midwest to volunteer. And he became the inspiration for all of us to start this organization. So give him one more hand. And make sure it doesn't get to his head. One more. Alrighty. Heather, you want to go next?
Sure.
Heather is the one who had 100 seconds to speak. Thank you. She just came from Europe, right?
A couple weeks ago.
Okay, there you go.
So I have two favorite things that I do during an interview. The first is I actually take with me a notepad, a notebook, and whenever I'm sitting down and talking to somebody, I actually open it up and take notes. Because number one, I want them to see that what they say is important to me, and I'm going to keep track of it. Two, I want them to see me like I'm going to look when I get the job, sitting in one of their meetings. So they can visualize it just a little bit better when I have my notebook and I'm taking the notes. Second thing I do is I ask them a question, what do I need to do in my first 100 days on the job to make you, my hiring manager, look good? That tells them that, and of course I write that down very carefully. They see me write it down very carefully so that we both know what I need to do.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Very good. By the way, I think Heather quit her job to start a business, so she'll be joining my league of business owners. So give her a hand, and give her a prayer. Prayer. Amin Bangla. There you go. You just got blessed. There you go. Okay. Let's see if Bahailu can give us the secret. This guy, we were sitting at Kaldi's few months ago. And we had a couple of people who were sitting next to us and looking to get their first job. He was talking about 3 job offers he got.
የሚቀጥለው ፕሮግራማችን training ነው የሚሆነው. But before the training, I'll just say a few words about who we are as a community or as a community organization. 21st century ባለፈው የመጣችሁም አላችሁ፣ ለመጀመሪያ ጊዜ የመጣችሁ አላችሁ። ዋና ዓላማው ሰርቪስ ፈላጊዎችንና ሰርቪስ ሰጪዎችን ማገናኘት ነው። ሰርቪሱ የተለያየ ሊሆን ይችላል። የዛሬው ሰርቪስ እንደምታዩት ሶፍት ስኪልስ ትሬኒንግ ነው። ስልጠናውን ወይም ሰርቪሱን ደግሞ የሚሰጡልን ሰዎች ባለሙያዎቹ አሉ። ሰርቪስ ደግሞ ፈላጊዎቹ እኛ ነን ማለት ነው፣ ታዳሚዎቹ። ለጊዜው ፎከስ ያደረግነው ሶፍት ስኪል ላይ ነው። ወደፊት ግን ሰርቪሶቹ እየሰፉ ይሄዳሉ። ለምሳሌ አፕ አለን። ስለ አፑ ከሆነ በኋላ በዝርዝር ያስረዳናል። የአፑ ዋና ዓላማ እንደ ፕላትፎርም እንዲያገለግለን ነው፣ ሰርቪስ ሰጪዎችና ፈላጊዎችን ማገናኛ። ለምሳሌ ሰርቪስ ከሚሰጡት ሰዎች አንዱ ሙሉጌታ አለ። የፋይናንስ ፕሮፌሰር ነው። የቤት መግዛት የምትፈልጉ አማካሪ ነው። እና ሌትስ ሴይ ሙሉ አንዴ ተነስና እንግዲህ ያስነስተው እና ለምሳሌ እሱ 10 ሰዓት 20 ሰዓት ዶኔት ቢያደርግ በነፃ ሰዎችን ለማማከር እዚህ ውስጥ ቤት መግዛት የሚፈልግ ሰው እና ምክር የሚፈልግ ሰው ሙሉጌታን ቡክ ማድረግ ይችላል ማለት ነው አፑ ላይ ሄዶ እና አይ ቲንክ ከሞላ ጎደል አላማው ገብቷቸዋል ብዬ አስባለሁ። ይሄን ካልኩ በኋላ so we're gonna go straight to our training. I'll invite the trainers to the stage. Gabe, I guess it's you who's gonna get us started with the training. You're back.
I'm back. I think wig መልበስ ነበረብኝ አይደለም? Okay. So Jeremy, you want to join?
I'm excited to co-present tonight with Gabe. He's the founder of ICATT, ICAT organization. And how many years were you in business?
23 years.
23 years.
I have no stomach.
Okay. And Gabe and I met at the Association for Talent Development. So it's a national and actually international association of people who speak and train for a living. And so it was nice to bump into someone new who I hadn't met before and to get invited to be part of your event tonight.
So what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
Gabe, do you want to tell a little bit about why emotional intelligence is so important and why you wanted it to be part of the presentation?
I just want to tell you, first of all, you know, I went to this networking event a couple of months ago. In one night, I was able to recruit 5 amazing training facilitators. And one of them is Jerry May. She was kind enough, so I was carrying, I'm like, you know, I'm like Hamra, maybe your other lost brother, you know. So, and she said, let's do it, right? And one thing that really got my attention about, you know, Jerry May is she's a daughter and granddaughter of a saddle maker. I can relate to that. Koricha, Namorocha Koricha. Abata Koricha, sorry. And I used to ride a saddle, you know, on a horse and on a mule, and I did not do one on a donkey, but I think I did the mule quite a bit. So she's a speaker, a trainer, and from Idaho. She comes from the Midwest about a year ago. And on the subject of emotional intelligence, or sometimes we call it EQ, she has been doing research on this subject for the last 10 years. And she has been doing training in 39 states. So this woman knows what she's talking about. I mean, you got the expert. You got the expert right in the room. Okay, now, let me kind of give you why we are doing emotional intelligence. So, we are doing emotional intelligence training because it's part of the, you know, the whole buffet of soft skills, okay? First of all, for those of you who came late or who missed the last meeting, 85% of our career success is soft skills, okay? Meaning, the fact you are an attorney, software developer, QA person, you know, as an accountant, engineer, you are a leader of an organization, all of those are considered technical skills, okay? And that, or your technical skills are responsible for 15% of your success. 85% of your success is based on soft skills. And soft skills include, one of them is emotional intelligence, cultural competence, we have leadership, teamwork, appreciative thinking, presenting yourself, networking. So all of these are skills that you need to be successful. Not only to get your first job, but also to be successful in the job you are in, like to be promoted like our friends, like Hannah, like Masfin, like Kona, like, you know, like Bahailu. So that's kind of what it takes. So now we are drilling down on emotional intelligence. And what I want to ask Jeremy,
Yeah.
You've done this in 39 states.
Yeah.
Tell me your favorite state. Tell me it's Florida. Tell me it's Florida, but you can tell me the truth.
I had a really good experience in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Anybody from North
On
Carolina?
the Duke University campus. It was just a great, large crowd, 800 people, so a big audience, and everyone was just gracious and kind. And I had traveled from Montana, so I had traveled a long ways to get there. It was just a
Wonderful.
nice experience.
Wonderful. You know what? Maybe one of these days we'll arrange a full one-day training for Jerry May to come to the training. But today, she will just give us a short version of it. So tell us a little more about EQ, or emotional intelligence.
I'm gonna do a little geography lesson first. So this is the United States of America, and people who grew up in the United States of America have very bad geography skills. Yes. Yeah, right? So I never assume anyone has ever heard of where I am from. So this is where we are. That's our neighborhood where we are right now. I am from Idaho. So you see where Idaho is? Yeah. On the map? So Idaho is shaped like a cowboy boot, and I grew up about ankle. That's how I describe it to people. And people will say, the town you are from, what is it close to? And I say, it's 200 miles south of Spokane, Washington. It's 200 miles north of Boise, Idaho. It's 200 miles west of Missoula, Montana. And then they say, what is it close to? And I just told you, it's in the middle of nowhere. 3,000 people in the city that I grew up in. My grandfather started a saddle making business in 1934. In U.S. history, 1934 is the middle of the Great Depression. So we just had something we called the Great Recession. Bankers, right? That we're pulling our way out of now. But the recession was nothing compared to the Depression. And that's when my grandfather started his saddle making business. This is the country I grew up in. That's my niece, and that is the Salmon River Mountains, what's called the Salmon River Breaks. She's riding a saddle that my grandfather made for my aunt, so her great aunt, years and years ago, and she still rides it. I met an artist today, who's a painter. He's sitting next to a painter, right? You said you were an artist and you talk about art. I grew up with an artist. His art was leather. So this is my father's work that he does, really high quality work. So I grew up working in my family-owned business and in an area that was very small population. I became a college business instructor, and then I started getting invited to come to businesses and do training and seminars for the businesses. And the area that I am most intrigued by is the topic of emotional intelligence that we're going to talk about tonight, because it applies to everything that we do. So Daniel Goleman, the author of this book, was the neuroscience writer for the New York Times. And he realized that the areas of psychology and sociology and neuroscience were merging, and they were actually talking to each other. So until 20 years ago, psychologists and sociologists would try to guess what was happening inside somebody's brain based on their behaviors. But now with fMRI imaging, we're actually able to kind of peek inside and see what's happening inside the human brain. And so he was studying this overlap of psychology, sociology, and the neuroscience, the advances in the chemical, understanding the chemistry of the brain, and being able to see inside the brain with the imagery. So he decided to write this book. And he works for the New York Times. And when you do a really good job writing a book, you make it onto the New York Times top seller list, right? Not this guy. Nobody would buy his book. So he has lots and lots of books that he's printed in his garage. They're all in his garage. Nobody wants to buy his book. Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. Then he wrote an article for the Harvard Business Journal, the same name as his book. Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. And that article became the most popular article that Harvard Business Journal has ever published. And then guess what happened? Everybody wants to buy his book. And then he's written like 8 more books since then. So we're going to go back to why emotional intelligence is more important than IQ. So we're going to use the words EQ to talk about emotional intelligence and IQ to talk about raw intelligence. So I would like you to turn to someone who's going to be your neighbor today. So it's best if you pair up with somebody. So poker players, who plays poker? Anybody play poker in this room? It's a card game? Okay. Or you do, but you're not raising your hand? Okay. I just need, the only reason I'm asking is because in poker there's something called a pair, and a pair has how many in it? 2. Okay. So when I say for you to pair up, I want there to be 2 of you. So find somebody to be your neighbor today, pair up with them, because there are going to be lots of opportunities for you to have conversations with them. Okay? Pair up, pair up. Need somebody to be your neighbor. Got it? Pair up, okay? Okay, let's see how we're doing here. Looks like you're doing pretty good. Okay. So anybody not have a neighbor, wave your hand. We'll get you one. All right. So, one of you put your hand on your neighbor's shoulder so I can see who my pairs are. Put your hand on your neighbor's shoulder, okay? Pair, pair. Okay. Oh, no, nice try. No threesomes. 2. Okay. Oh, you got that joke. Okay. All right. 2. Go find somebody to be your neighbor. Stand up like a little. Stand up. And you be his neighbor. Okay. Okay. Got your neighbor. Okay. This is really, really important. Okay. Now, of the 2 of you, as you're looking at the front of the room, one of you's on the left, right? Raise your hand. You're on the left of the 2 of you. Okay. So when I say lefties, I want you to do something. You're going to do it, okay? Righties, you're on the right. Okay? So raise your hand, righties. Righties, raise your hand. I'm going to say righties, I want you to do something. You know who I'm talking to, right? Right? Righties, right? Okay, lefties and righties. Okay, do you see why that was so important to have 2? Because we only have left and right. We don't have any in the middle. Okay, so what I would like you to do right now is you're going to have a conversation with your neighbor. Then, when I need your attention again, I'm going to say, if you can hear me, clap once. So let's practice that. If you can hear me, clap once. So there's going to be people like Gabe. They're going to be talking still. So I'm going to say, if you can hear me, clap twice. And that should do it. If it goes 3 times, then we might have to give a little tap on the shoulder. Okay? So what I would like you to do is turn to your neighbor, and you're going to say, I've never heard of emotional intelligence before. Or you're going to say, I've heard about it, but I don't know very much about it. Or you're going to say, I've taken a class or a webinar on emotional intelligence. Or you're going to say, they shouldn't even invite that cowgirl. I could teach this class. Right? You know as much as I do about emotional intelligence. So, haven't ever heard of it, but don't know much. Taken some classes or webinars, read a book about it, or she should just move over. Okay, so tell your neighbor where you are in your understanding of emotional intelligence. You should be able to do this in 30 seconds. Go. Okay. So, if you can hear me, clap once. Can you hear me, clap twice. Can you hear me, clap 3 times. Oh, you didn't really even have to do that. That was great. Okay, so in the room, just show of hands, how many of you, this is brand new, I've never even heard this phrase before, emotional intelligence. Okay, there's going to be a few people in the room. How many of you, I've heard it, or I've seen it in an article or something, but I really don't understand much about it. Okay, got a few more of those. And then the third is, Gabe has been offering webinars, and they happen to be on emotional intelligence. So I've had some training, or maybe I've taken a class and I've learned a little bit about emotional intelligence, or I've read a book about it. So that'd be number 3. Who are you? Okay, good. And the numbers are getting smaller. Hopefully for my job security, this is going to be the littlest number coming up, okay? So how many of you want me to get the heck out of the way and you can take over here? Just hand you the microphone. That one right back there? Yeah, he could do it. He could do it easy peasy, couldn't you? Weren't you the trainer last time? Didn't you train recently for this?
Yes, I did the training on emotional intelligence in your job center.
In the job center, okay? All right. So I like having professors. That's what I think of them in my class. I like having the experts and being able to tap into that as well. So emotional intelligence is defined, and you've got a handout. Everybody have a yellow piece of paper that's their handout? Anybody need one? Got some people that can fill them out for you. Thank you. So I like to have handouts as an instructor, just as the highlights of what we're going to talk about. If you like to learn by writing things down, you've got some space to write things down. If you don't learn by writing things down, then just put the paper aside, and every once in a while I'll draw your attention to it, but you don't need to focus on it too much. So emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize and understand emotions, and your skill at using this awareness. So IQ is raw intellect, and you can grow somewhat in your IQ, but most of us, our IQ is hardwired. It's when we're a little person like this one here, that whatever the level is of IQ, that's what you have throughout your life. Emotional intelligence, you can, wherever you are at any given time, you can choose to get better. You can choose to grow your emotional intelligence. So it's a kind of a rewarding concept, because we know that if we put the effort into it, we can get better at our emotional intelligence. In the book that Daniel Goleman wrote, that was in his garage all those years, and then finally people wanted to read it, he said that emotional intelligence gets broken into 4 categories. One is self-awareness, so that's how much I understand about myself, how much I understand about what I'm feeling, and my understanding, even if I'm in the middle of intense emotion, I can still understand what it is that I'm feeling, and maybe even describe it to somebody else, but definitely describe it to myself. So I know what my emotions are, and I can, I'm aware at any given time what my emotions are. Self-management is the next level, and it is being able to control how I respond in a given situation. So I worked with people who were my college students who were afraid of getting up in front of an audience and giving a presentation. That's a pretty common fear. And so we worked on, before we worked on actually speaking, we needed to address that emotion, don't we? Because they have really interesting stories, and they're wonderful people, And their fear of speaking in public was keeping others from getting to know them. So we addressed that fear and taught them how to manage that fear. So for today, we're going to focus mostly on the self-awareness and self-management because it's something you have the most control over, right? When we're talking about getting better at emotional intelligence, the thing you have the most control over is your own emotions and how you respond in any particular situation. I don't have as much impact on other people, or I don't have as much control as I do of myself. So in the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he begins, before he gets into the 7 habits, he begins with these 2 circles. And the little circle is the circle of influence, and the big circle is the circle of concern. So the big circle is everything you're worried about, and the smaller circle, the influence, is what you can actually do something about. So you see the difference between those two? Here's what I'm worried about, and according to my children, mine is huge, and they're in it, and they know it, and they know that once one of their friends comes over to our house, their friend ends up in my circle of concern. And my children would even say to their friends, when you get home, you have to call my mother so she knows you made it home safely, because she's going to worry about you until you call her. And my children don't like to be with me when I'm worried about things. I'm not as fun to be with. What Stephen Covey says is that effective people focus on the circle of influence. That's where we put our time, that's where we put our energy, that's where we put our emotion. We focus it on the circle of influence, the things that I can actually do something about. And then it's not wasted, is it? It's not wasted energy, it's not wasted feelings, it's not wasted energy that I'm putting into that circle, because I'm focused on something I can do something about. What Covey found was that the people who are really good at identifying their circle of influence and putting their energy there, that their circle of influence actually grows. They get more influential. People who focus on their circle of concern and don't do a good job taking care of their circle of influence, people learn not to pay attention to them. For example, my big cowboy dad has been overweight all of my life. All of my life, he's way too much. I got in a car wreck, I hurt my neck, it hurt to move, so I quit moving, but I kept eating. And guess what happens? When you don't move as much as you should, and you keep eating, you get heavier and heavier. So my father knows that my weight gain makes me feel bad. And he knows that my neck hurts, and that he feels bad for me. But then he says to me, Jerry May, what you need to do to lose weight is... Now what's wrong with him giving me advice? How did I describe him at the beginning of the story? My big overweight cowboy dad, who's been overweight my whole life. So I'm within his circle of concern, right? I'm his daughter, he's worried about me. But he can't influence me because he hasn't done a good enough job of managing himself. So self-awareness, self-management come first in emotional intelligence. We aren't going to be effective relating to other people, and especially not managing other people, unless we begin with self-awareness and self-management. And that's where we're going to focus tonight. There is in emotional intelligence, so also social awareness and relationship management. So that social awareness is how tuned in are you to the other people in your area, your workplace, your family, your neighborhood, the other people on the metro bus, the other people waiting in line with you at the grocery store. How tuned in are you to the people around you? And then relationship management is, I understand the other people in my group, they understand me, and then we're able to come up with a way of functioning better together. So that's relationship management. What I find is that the social awareness and relationship management, the key to both of those seems to be the skill of listening. So this is the Chinese language, the word to listen. So it's the active verb listen. Instead of having letters, this language has characters, and each of the characters means something. So the active verb to listen has the character ear, eyes, undivided attention, and heart. So if you are thinking about being a good listener, you have to have ears, eyes, undivided attention, and heart, or you're not really listening. And when we're thinking about social awareness, being aware of what other people really think or really feel, I think this is a great way to imagine ourselves being better at social awareness. And then relationship management, this ability to really listen to other people, that becomes also an essential part of having healthy relationships. Healthy doesn't mean we always agree with each other. Healthy means we're honest, and healthy means we have a way to work through things when we have disagreements. So I want you to turn to your neighbor now, and I want you to talk to your neighbor about self-awareness. When is it hardest for you to, I'm going to back up a little bit. Self-awareness. What is something that you've learned about yourself in the last few years that everybody else has known about it all your life, but you're just really understanding it now? And I'll give you a personal example. I did some personality training 20-something years ago. My family are sitting at the table with me, and I say to them, I got some training today on different personality styles. And I found out that my personality style is very helpful. Likes to help other people. I'm very helpful if you're doing exactly what I think you should be doing. I'm not helpful if you're going off in a direction I don't think is a good idea, then I'm not helpful. So I'm helpful, but only when you're doing what I want you to do. That's what I learned about myself. So for me, this was a big I always thought I was just helpful, not helpful when you do what I want. So my family is eating their dinner, and I'm explaining this to them, and they don't look up at me. Because what do they know? What have they known always? They know that I'm helpful when I do when they do what I want. Then I help them. If they want to go about their own way and I don't think it's such a good idea, then I'm not that helpful at all. So turn to your neighbor and talk about something that you've learned about yourself in the last few years. Maybe other people knew it all along, but for you it was like, oh, I didn't realize this about myself. Okay, turn to your neighbor. Lefties, you go first. Something that you've learned about yourself. About 10 more seconds. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. So what you were just describing to your neighbor, or what you were hearing your neighbor describe, was an opportunity that had been created for that person to have more self-awareness. The great thing about studying emotional intelligence and learning more about it, I mentioned earlier, you can always get better. Wherever you are, you can always get better at applying emotional intelligence. And the other great thing is, you can do it, you can get better at emotional intelligence anywhere. So for those of you who came in today, and you know your self-awareness is, I walk into a room full of people who I don't know, and it's hard for me to go up and talk to somebody new. Maybe that's your self-awareness. Well, you were given lots of opportunities today, weren't you, to connect with people, like through the bingo game and sitting down together, eating, and now learning together. You're given opportunities to take that thing that's harder for you and practice it, do it, get a little bit better at it. And guess what you find out? You know what? It was harder for me, but I was able to do it. So I gave each of you a rubber band. Did everybody get a rubber band? Okay, that's because he has 100 of them. You want to share with other people? You sure everybody gets a rubber band? And I need one too, by the way. Thank you. Learning more about yourself is you get an accurate idea of what your strengths are and what your stretches are. So a strength is something that's just really easy for you. You don't even have to think about it. You just do it naturally. It's easy for you. And for some of you, when you found out there was going to be a room full of strangers, you thought, all right, I love rooms full of strangers. I could have a room full of strangers every night. That wouldn't be enough strangers for me to meet. That means that your strength is connecting with people who you don't know. So I have the rubber band, and when the rubber band is just sitting on your hand, that represents you doing something that's easy for you. Doesn't take any energy at all, does it? Isn't that easy? You can do this all day long, as long as you can hold your hand. Okay, now, do something that is a stretch for you. It's hard to do. Maybe you're that person who has a hard time meeting somebody new. Or you're that person who has a hard time really listening. You're better at talking than really listening with ears, eyes, undivided attention, and heart. So are you stretched? Pull your rubber band here, or you're not going to learn. Okay? While I'm talking, you're pulling that rubber band as tight as you can. And what are you finding out? You can do this, but after a while, it starts getting a little hard, doesn't it? Okay. So sometimes when we learn about ourselves, we'll learn what our strengths are, what I'm good at. You probably know what those are. And you're also going to have situations that make you do something that's harder to do. And what we know is that you can do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that taps into your strength. But you can also do these things. You can do them, but you just have to think about it. You have to plan on it. You kind of have to make yourself do it. And you can't do it very long. Gallup research says you can do this all day long, but in a job it'd be nice if 80% of your job is this and 20% of your job is this. Have any of you ever had a job that was the opposite? 80% of your job was doing stuff that is hard. Not physically hard necessarily, but mentally hard for you. and 20% of your job is this. Okay? So self-awareness is knowing what your strengths are and what your stretches are. And then self-management is when I have to do something that's hard, that's going to be a stretch for me, I make myself successful at it by putting things in place. Now you might have some examples of when people have had to apply emotional intelligence. You might have experienced situations where people had to apply their emotional intelligence. Do you have an example, Gabe, of a situation where, I feel like I'm walking too close to the, so where a situation where somebody had to use their emotional intelligence, they're put in a situation and they have to use emotional intelligence to be successful at that.
You really want me to give an example? Do you mind? I'll give it a try.
Okay.
I feel like I'm standing next to an expert, so you can fix it.
Okay.
You can adjust it,
Okay.
make it right.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let me give a couple examples. Hopefully, these examples will bring it home. Do you mind if I switch a language for a minute?
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, my boss there is saying, mix it up a little bit. There you go. I know everyone understands, but I just need to mix it up. Because, hey, I just want to acknowledge Mero Ruga from YEP. It's one of my favorite organizations in America. Just give a hand for YEP. Yes. So I think emotional intelligence, I was kind of laughing at myself. And to realize I don't even know if I know my feelings. So I started having this funny laugh. It goes like this. Sag aylut, lekso aylut. And I started to kind of watch, listen to myself. Hindi, እያዘንኩ ነው, እየከፋኝ ነው, እየሳቅኩ ነው. So I'll just evaluate it. So she was laughing. I think a couple of times I won. So I look bani sak. Until Saturday I should look at it. So anyways, I think having read a little more about emotional intelligence stuff, I'm kind of beginning to codify what the feelings are. And now just to admit publicly, I think when she beats me, there is just that feeling. I don't know, but I know one thing: when I win, it just feels good. And now, so I think that's some element of self-awareness, kind of knowing. Now, one thing
Also
that
relationship management.
yes, so just people, kind of be kind, right, every time. Now, one thing I came to realize, I think when he talked about circle of concern and circle of influence, I think that's me. Within my community, there are times when the talk turns into political. እኔ በቃ ፖለቲካና ኮሬንቲ ለኔ አንድ ናቸው። ዋል ፈርጃ እኔ እንደው ሁሉንም ናና ማድረግ ወዳለው ግን here is what I found out. በቃ እኔ አንድ ነገር ማድረግ ሳልችል ስለዛ ነገር ማውራት is just I feel like it's a waste. ስለዚህ የሆነ ነገር እናድርግ እንደው መንግስት መገልበጥ ካለ እንገልበጥ ካላችሁ አብሬ በቃ ጠመንጃ ይዤ መንግስት አከንደው ግን ዝም ብሎ እንደማውራት ማማት እንዲሆነ ይሄ መንግስት እንዲሆነ ስራው እንዲሆነ በተለይ አየሩ እንዲሆነ ዛሬ ዘነበ ሰማይ ወረደ it's not the kind of conversation I enjoy. ግን አንድ ነገር ማድረግ ስለሚችለው ነገር ማውራት ይሄን ስላችሁ ደግሞ መላክ እንደደረሳችሁ እዚህ ጋር አንድ ክንፍ አለችኝ እንዳታምናት የውሸት ነው. I'm just I make so many things. Point is, I think I tend to lean toward center of influence, things I have control over. I like to talk about things we can do together. What can Kona and I do together as opposed to what happened in America or what happened in New York, what's going to happen to the environment. Those are things that are just above my pay grade. So I just tend to stay in my lane. And therefore, I tend to be happy because I talk about things I do. I don't talk about things that I have no control over. So I think that has kind of helped me manage my own mood. Jerry May, there gotta be a science behind this. So do you mind kind of maybe explaining what the science behind this? Assuming when you went around the 39 states, You just did not make it up, right?
That's right.
It's not your invention.
This is not my invention.
There is a science behind it.
And it's not Dr. Goldman's invention either.
Okay, let's
It's-
hear it.
So one of the things that Dr. Goldman found as he was doing more and more research into the neuroscience and the other sciences getting together was that we can train our brain. We have the things that are our strengths and we have things that are our stretches, and we can get ourselves ready to move into something that's a stretch that's hard for us, and we can be really good at it if we have our brain trained to be successful. One of the things that we need to, for every level of emotional intelligence, is a vocabulary so we can talk to ourselves about what our emotions are, but then also so we can communicate about these emotions to other people. So if you were going to take an acting class, or maybe I have people in this room who've taken an acting class. Have you ever taken a class on being an actor or an actress? Actor? No? No? Have you? Okay, all right. So in an acting class, they would talk about the emotions, right? When you're acting out an emotion. You might not really feel afraid, but for this scene in the movie, or this scene in the play, you have to act afraid. So the acting instructor would tell you that basically there are 5 different categories of human emotion, and they're across the top. There's happy, there's sad, angry, afraid, and ashamed. So when we look at all human emotion, it falls under one of those 5 categories. And then we feel those emotions at different levels. So when I look down and see that I have put on 2 different color of socks this morning when I got dressed in the dark on my way to the airport, and I didn't realize I had on 2 different colored of socks until I got to security and they made me take off my shoes, and I looked down and I have not just a little bit different colored socks, but like red and white, totally different colors. So what do you think my emotion is? If you're going to act out this scene, what do you think my emotion is? Yeah, well, I'm kind of mad at myself for not turning the light on, but my husband was asleep. I was trying to be courteous to him. But maybe I'm a little bit embarrassed, a little bit ashamed. Okay? And then we look at how ashamed am I? Am I a lot ashamed? Well, I got my pants on, so I know I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Am I medium ashamed, or am I just a little bit ashamed? So what this talks about is, this chart is what kind of feelings we have, because we're normal human beings, and then what intensity of those feelings. And what's fascinating about human beings is we can be experiencing the exact same thing in the same room together or in that same line at security, experiencing the same thing and feel different emotions from being in the exact same place, but we feel different emotions. So one day I was trying to get my a new passport, and I'm sitting in a room about like this. Everybody's seated, and we're waiting in line. We're not waiting in line because we're all sitting down. We can't even get in line until they tell us to get in line. So we're just waiting. And I'm sitting next to a young man who is speaking Spanish to his mother on the cell phone. So I think he must be Spanish, because he's speaking Spanish to his mama. And we're waiting in our seats, and a man comes out of a door and opens up the door. He steps out. He's in a uniform, like security, and he yells at the people at the back of the room who are blocking the doorway, "Get out of the doorway! What's the matter with you? People can't even get out of can't get in and out. Get out of the way!" And then the door shuts and he goes away. And I'm thinking, my emotion is, that was annoying, and won't that be a great story the next time I have to teach customer service in a workshop? So I'm thinking, this is a great story about, don't do this, that was bad. But the young man next to me, his emotion is anger. He's angry because he feels he wasn't treated with respect. Somebody who doesn't even know him and doesn't know what his day's been like yelled at him like he was a dog, not a human being, not a person of intelligence. So here we are. So we're sitting right next to each other. So this is my picture instead. Human brain has 3 basic parts. It has the brain stem, that's right here in your brain, and we call it the lizard brain. So right now your eyes are blinking, you're digesting your dinner, you're hearing sound, you're feeling the temperature of the room, you're breathing in and out, in and out. All of that's happening because of this part of your brain, right here, the brain stem. From the base of your brain down to your spine. This is a lizard brain. We also have what I call the horse brain. That's this part of your brain back here. And it has emotion, and you're able to be trained, and you have memory. And there's something we can't quite tap into yet, but it's there, and it's intuition or instinct or a gut feeling. Like, have you ever been somewhere and you feel like, I better get out of here, right? Hopefully not right this minute, but other times. That's in that part of the brain. And then the frontal lobe, this part of your brain right here, is the administrator part of your brain. And it thinks into the future, and it plans, and it evaluates, and it prepares. And how many of you have teenagers at home? Anybody have teenage children at home? Okay. This part of the brain doesn't finish growing up until about age 22 to 26. It's still growing. So if you have ever said to a teenager, "What were you thinking?" and the teenager says, "Oh," that's probably true, because this part of their brain, it's not done growing up yet. Okay? So we know we have these 3 parts of our brain: lizard, horse, or animal, and human. And all 3 of them are involved in us choosing what our emotion is going to be. Right? We can actually make choices. So, I don't ignore this part of my brain, the animal part of my brain. I pay attention to it because it has my memory, it has my instinct. And when I'm riding a horse, I pay attention to my horse, because sometimes my horse will stop and I don't know why they're stopping. And then I look a little bit ahead of me on the trail and I'll see a rattlesnake going across the trail. I didn't know it was there. This part of my brain didn't know it was there, but this part did. So we want to acknowledge all 3 parts of the brain as being important. We also know that it takes about 6 seconds for the brain activity to go from this part of your brain, 6 seconds, till this part of your brain gets fully engaged. 6 seconds. So think about how long that is. 1,000. That's a long time, isn't it? Sometimes we have jobs or lives that don't give us 6 seconds to make a decision. We have to make decisions a lot faster. So how do we speed that up? How do we make it faster? Training, practice, rehearsal, right? We front load this part of our brain and with the repetition, so it gets there faster. In Daniel Goleman's book, he talks about emotional hijacking, and emotional hijacking is when this part of your brain takes over and this part of your brain doesn't get a chance to make a decision. It's all emotion. So I'm going to give you an example of a time when my brain was emotionally hijacked, and then you and your neighbor are going to share examples. I had a grandmother who I loved, who every night she put on lotion and it smelled like roses. When I was in high school, she died. And I was very sad that she died. Then my life goes on, and 10 years go by, and I'm at a gift shop, and a little clerk hands me a bar of soap, and she says, "Here's our new soap." And she hands it to me. And I put the soap up next to my nose, and I inhale, and it smells like roses. And I can just feel my grandmother's arms around me, except they're not there, right? She's not with us anymore. And I start crying. Wah, wah. So I'm missing my grandma. And this poor little clerk is, "They're on sale. 3 for $1. She doesn't, I'm having an emotional response. Now she's got to deal with me. The clerk has to deal with me, and she doesn't have any idea what my history is or why that particular stimuli created this kind of emotional hijacking of me. And I'm going, "Oh no, it's okay. I know exactly why I'm doing this." And it just reminded me so strongly of my grandmother. Well, years after that, I found out that that part of your brain, the part of the brain that smells, is really linked closely to emotion. Good emotions and bad emotions. So turn to your neighbor, and if you have an example of a time when you found yourself, your brain was emotionally hijacked, share that with your neighbor, please. So we know that it takes 6 seconds to go from the emotional part of the brain to the logical part of the brain. We know that there's emotional hijacking. There's also something called mirror neurons. That's where we're realizing that how my brain is behaving affects how your brain is behaving. And it's a whole nother study, and it's relatively new, and it's pretty darn exciting. So one of the nice things about studying emotional intelligence is that once you've decided what emotion would be best for you in a given situation, then you get to choose how you're going to act. So you can act bored. If you choose to be bored, you can act bored. Or you can choose to be enthusiastic. But the important thing about emotional intelligence is when you act bored, or when you act enthusiastic, when you act proud, or when you act uninterested, you're choosing to feel that way, and you're choosing to act that way. So we're separating stimulus and response and taking ownership for how we feel. And then we get to choose our own attitude. So we have this whole range of emotions that we can tap into. Emotional intelligence doesn't mean not experiencing emotions. Emotional intelligence means you choose what's the best emotion for you to be feeling and sharing with other people so you get the most out of any given situation. Now, when I looked at the list of classes that you have coming up, it was amazing to me how much of what's ahead for this group taps into things that are going to help you strengthen your self-awareness, strengthen your self-management, your social awareness, awareness of other people, and then also relationship management. That seems to be what's ahead for all of you. You're going to have lots of opportunities to tap into your emotional intelligence. Have any of you ever been to Louisiana? No? Okay. All right. Well, in Louisiana, when a merchant, that's what I grew up as a merchant at the saddle shop, when a merchant finishes a transaction, they always give you something as a gift. So this is your attitude adjuster, and I want you to take 2 of them. So one for you, as a gift for you, and then one for you to give somebody else, so you can help them lift their emotions as well. So I have this as a gift to give to you, and you can tell them about what's coming up next in your organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Our services focus on immigrants in transition. Why? When you help immigrants who are in transition, you make them part of the American dream. So instead of, sucking the resources, being liability, they will be like adding to the job creation. They will be doing amazing things, for themselves and for America. That's why we are focused. Also, I want to say why we welcome public resources. You know what? If you work for an agency, and you have gazillion dollars, we love your money. Bring it on. However, just want to say that we welcome public resources. Our primary resources come from the community we serve. So that's why the businesses, appreciate TTI. TTI, we did not even approach. He came, that's the kind of guy I'm looking for. And Heidi, he just came forward. So we love those kind of people, because when you see mission accomplished, you want to be part of it. So that's kind of how the business model. I want to do something really quick so that we get to what most of you have been looking for. What most of you have been looking for. What I've been looking for is for the Konas of the world, for Hamrawis of the world, Masvins of the world, Hannas of the world, all these employers who come to be here and for you to speak to them one-on-one, get their insight, okay? That's what I do. Every day I talk to someone, I walk away with so much knowledge, meaning you walk away with how to fish, right? So that's what we are waiting for. I just want to pause for 1 minute and quickly ask my colleagues why they volunteer with the 21st Century Community. I'll tell you why I volunteer with 21st Century Community. I volunteer with the 21st Century Community because being in business is not only about making money. Being in business is about creating jobs. My company has about 20 people. So we are job creators. So the reason I volunteer with 21st Century Community is to see many job creators who hire others, not only Ethiopians, but the community as a whole. Okay? So that's my reason for volunteering with 21st Century Community. Kona, why are you volunteering with 21st Century Community? What?
Surprised. Actually, this is my community, and I would like to give back to the community, and I would like to see some future directors, managers, or CEOs out of here who would like to join the federal government. So there is a lot of talent, a lot of potential, and I would like to see that. That's why I'm volunteering.
You know what? Actually, the moderator is Haile. You ask that question and then we answer. Is that okay?
All right. Thank you, Kona, for that great answer. I'll start with Bahairu. So, why are you volunteering for 21st Century? I know he's working on this 24/7 with Gabe. So, why are you doing this?
Like Kona said, I would say I'm doing this because I wanna see more of digital talent. And more of analytics experts, computational scientists from our community. So I'm here to do my part so that we have more people from our community who do just that, and they become part of the, digital transformation that everyone is going through right now.
Thank you. Same question for you.
Thank you. Who reads Ethio Media on a regular basis from here? Ethio Media? Okay, have you read the one that was printed on this past Sunday or Monday? Do you remember an article about this gentleman from Dallas, Texas, running for the city council seat with his picture on the front page? That person is my nephew. That article, if you haven't read it, please, I really beg you, go and read it. It's not just to praise me, actually that's not the case, but it will give you an idea of what Ethiopians are doing in this country. I wrote that article, okay? I wrote that article, and so help me so that I write about you when you run for an elected office in this amazing, great country. I want to see a mayor, a congressman for now, president maybe later on. So,
I think the other report.
yeah, exactly. So that is why I joined 21st Century. I helped my nephew Zoge a little bit, and I want to help you get there. Be that elected person, a mayor, a governor, a senator. That's what I want to see. That's my dream.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Same question for you too.
እነሱ እንግዲህ ማይክ ብዙ ይዘው ቆይተዋል። እኔ አላገኘሁም እስካሁን። Okay, my name is Mulugeta. I'm a real estate consultant and I'm also a professor. Recently I read a book and there is something that is coming to my mind again and again, and it says, if your dream is too small, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's too small. If your dream doesn't scare you, it's too small. I want to see people in our community with big dreams. I want to see people's story change in our community. I want to contribute, I want to volunteer, I want to help people. I want to see people not just survive, but thrive, America is a land of opportunity, isn't it? America is a land of opportunity. We want to see wealthy people in our community. We want to see millionaires, even not billionaires. So that's in short. We want to see millionaires and billionaires. It can be in real estate, like Donald Trump, or anybody. Okay, thank you.
In terms of what I do, I'm a private investor in real estate. I identify where money is for businesses as well as for real estate purchase, refinance, or restructuring. And what I heard tonight was a lot of good people from the motherland who are trying to get their feet in the straps. So what I'm saying is whatever you do, make sure that finance is part of your team. If you don't have that talent among yourselves, find it. Because all of the ideas and all of the planning and the analyzing and writing the eloquent reports mean nothing until you get to the pro forma. That's where the money lies. Investors want to see two things, or three things. What you're going to do with their money, what's the probability of them getting their money back, and do you have the capability to give them their money back? That's the three things that investors look for. So I work very closely now with Muir. Anything you need in terms of finance or business or real estate, or you want to acquire a business, or you put together a syndication. I mean, I'm sitting here in this room and you probably got a syndication in this room that could put together a couple $100,000. I'm sure when you really dug down into it, there's a lot of money in this room. So you put a syndication together and you operate from a group, period. Thank you.
Okay, ስለ አፑ ነው የምነግራችሁ። I guess everyone is familiar with an app. So 21st century app አለው። አፑ 21st century community የሚል either if you are apply form ካላችሁ in app store, if it is android ካላችሁ play store ውስጥ ሄዳችሁ 21st century community ብላችሁ ታይፕ ብታደርጉ የ21st century ሎጎ ያለው 21st CC የሚል አፕ ታያላችሁ እና ያንን ዳውንሎድ አድርጉት። አፑን ዳውንሎድ ለማድረግ ቮለንተር አድርጌ ነው። I do have an app making company. If anyone is interested to learn this business, how to make an apps, anyone with programming background, I'm willing to train or to give internship how to make an apps and get into that business. At the same time, you can also volunteer for 21st century to manage the app. So this is a good opportunity for those of you who would like to learn about the app. አፑ ሲከፈት ሬጅስተር አድርጉ ይላችኋል። either you can sign up or you can skip አድርጋችሁ to the next step መሄድ ትችላላችሁ። We do have a job searching አለ, we do have a webinars, we do have articles, we do have service providers registrations, we do have videos, we do have audios, we do have the calendar, event registration, Twitter, Facebook, everything is included within 21st century app. So it is very helpful. I would like to encourage everyone. I guess I came to this country 20 years ago and I went through a lot of hardships. Those of you who come recently, there are a lot of resources available. You don't have to go through the way we passed. እኛ በብዙ ሃርድሺፕ ውስጥ ነው ያለፍነው። እናንተ ደግሞ አሁን ሪሶርስ ባለበት አይዲያስ ባሉበት ብዙ ኢትዮጵያውያን ፕሮፌሽናልስ ባሉበት ጊዜ ነው የመጣችሁት። All you need is you need to network with people. You don't have to go through all of those low-paying jobs. Maybe 2-3 months you can go through that, but you can jump into professional field. I see a lot of talents in this room. A lot of guys who have graduated with computer science, law, so many talented guys. So I would like to encourage you, stay here, work with 21st century, and hopefully you will definitely be into the mainstream of professional jobs. Thank you.